All right, let's just jump right in. This right here is John Keats' famous poem, To Autumn. And for like 200 years, people have called it one of the most perfect short poems ever written in English. It's just this incredible masterpiece of feeling and detail, and we're about to find out exactly why.
But that's the real question, isn't it? What makes a poem about a season, written 2 centuries ago, still feel so powerful? Well, Keats does something pretty extraordinary here. He takes us on a complete emotional journey in just 33 lines. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how he pulls it off, stanza by stanza.
So first up is the first stanza. This is all about the absolute peak of the harvest. It's this feeling of overwhelming ripeness, where nature is just bursting at the seams. I mean, right from the very first line, Keats paints a whole sensory scene. It's not just any autumn. It's a season of mists and mellow fruitfulness. And he immediately makes autumn a person, a close bosom friend of the sun. It's like they're in this creative partnership, conspiring together to create this incredible bounty.
And you can see just how successful they are. Keats doesn't just tell us it's fruitful, he shows us with these super vivid images. The apples are so heavy they're literally bending the branches. You've got gourds swelling, hazel shells getting plumped up. Everything is filled to its absolute limit.
The whole mood here is just one of endless creation. Keats even talks about the flowers blooming late for the bees who think warm days will never cease. He just perfectly captures that feeling of a golden afternoon that you wish could last forever. That line, "For summer has over-brimmed their clammy cells," it's the perfect image of life literally overflowing.
Okay, now let's get into the second stanza, because there's a really dramatic shift here. All that frantic activity of growing and ripening, it's over. The pace just slows right down, and it becomes all about stillness, observation, and rest. And to make this shift happen, Keats leans heavily on a key literary device, personification. Now, we saw a little of it in the first stanza, with autumn as a friend of the sun, but here, he takes it to a whole new level. He's about to show us the actual spirit of autumn, not as a force, but as a person.
So, who is Autumn? Well, Keats gives us 4 really distinct portraits of her. First, she's like a farm worker, sitting careless on the greenery floor, work's done. Then she's a reaper, totally passed out in a field, drowsed with the fume of poppies. Next, she's just watching, patiently observing a cider press for hours on end. And finally, we see her as a gleaner, just walking steadily home.
The big takeaway here is that the hard work is finished. All that energy from the first stanza, it's been spent. This stanza is all about that feeling of post-harvest satisfaction. It's sleepy, it's languid, it's just deeply peaceful. The season itself seems to be taking a very well-deserved nap.
And that brings us to the final stanza, where Keats makes another brilliant move. We've gone from the feeling of abundance in stanza 1 to the sight of a resting autumn in stanza 2, and now, for stanza 3, he turns our attention to the sense of sound.
Notice how Keats totally gets what we might be feeling here. As the days get shorter, it's easy to feel a little sad, to miss the bright, loud life of spring. So he asks the question for us, where are the songs of spring? But then he immediately answers it with his gentle command, don't worry about spring. Autumn has its own music. And this comparison, this is the heart of the poem's final message. Spring songs, they're all about newness, beginnings, right? But autumn's music is different. It's the sound of maturity, of cycles coming to a close. And Keats is arguing that this music isn't lesser, it's just different. It has its own unique, kind of sad but beautiful quality. So what is that music? Well, it's this whole orchestra made up of everyday sounds. A wailful choir of gnats mourning the dying light, the bleating of full-grown lambs, the singing of crickets, a robin whistling, and the twittering of swallows getting ready to leave. Every single sound points to an ending, but Keats presents it not as some tragedy, but as this beautiful, natural symphony.
This line right here, it just perfectly captures the whole idea. He describes the sunset, the end of the day, using the word bloom. Just like a flower, the soft, dying day has its own moment of beauty. It's such a powerful way of saying that there is beauty in the very act of ending.
So when you put it all together, what you get is this really profound emotional journey. The poem doesn't just describe a season, it actually guides us through a whole way of thinking about it.
This arc is the poem's true genius. We start with that physical fullness, that sensory overload of fulfillment. Then we move into this quiet, meditative state of contemplation, and we end up with acceptance, this profound realization that endings themselves have their own kind of beauty, their own music.
And here it is, the poem's very last line. There's no panic, no despair. The swallows are gathering to leave for the winter. That's a definite ending. But their sound is a twitter. It's light, it's natural, it's just what happens. It's a moment of gentle finality, a perfect, peaceful farewell.
And that's really what Keats leaves us with, right? A question that goes way beyond just a single season. By showing us the beauty in a soft dying day and the music in a final twitter, he's kind of asking us to look at the endings in our own lives. You know, the end of a project, a relationship, a phase, and to find that unique, quiet beauty that exists right there, in the farewell itself.